Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out Smalltown Boy, Bronski Beat, and being openly gay in 80s pop. New British Can.
1984 was a particularly flamboyant year for British pop. Relax overcame its radio ban to spend 5 weeks at UK number 1.
I remember that.
George Michael alluded to his future solo aspirations with Careless Whisper. Pete Burns' Dead or Alive proved that the combination of High Energy and Stock Aitken Waterman equaled chart success. And Freddie Mercury dressed in drag for the I Want to Break Free video.
Oh yeah. He's in great shape.
But aside from the 2 core members of Frankie Goes to Hollywood, most of these men were living some kind of closeted existence. However, also debuting in 1984 were Bronski Beat, fronted by Jimmy Somerville, a Scottish socialist with the voice of a disco diva, packed within his buzz-cut 5'4" frame. They were 3 openly gay men writing honestly about their lives. Their melancholic debut single is a synth-pop escape from a small town in its small minds, with its destination simply being somewhere better, both for themselves and LGBTQ+ pop. This is New British Canon, and this is the story of Smalltown Boy.
Okay. I have heard the phrase Bronski Beat, but I thought it was a kind of beat. I thought there was somebody named Bronski, and they were a DJ, and they had a style where they put, like, a recognizable beat in their music. I didn't know, but I think Bronski Beat is the group. God, I feel stupid. And the song is Smalltown Boy. I was going to say, when he did this intro, he said 1984 was a particularly flamboyant scene in British music. And when he brought up George Michael, I was going to say, I don't think we knew George Michael to be a flamboyant person or of the flamboyant persuasion at the time, right? Careless Whisper, and even through, I don't know, when did he come out? I don't remember. Should we look that up? I guess so. When did George Michael come out? 1998. An actual year. Oh, it was after his arrest for public lewdness. Okay, got it. Anyway, 1984 is a flamboyant year, yeah. A lot of that new wave stuff was androgynous or straight up flamboyant. The eye patch. Did this person really need an eye patch? These nails. I forgot Freddie Mercury was in drag. Vacuuming. Yeah, Frankie Goes to Hollywood got banned, or that song Relax got banned. I remember hearing that song on the radio. I had no idea what it was. I had no idea what it meant. No idea. I want to hear Bronski Beat. Yeah, I'm interested to hear this. I don't know anything about, what's this person's name again? Jimmy Somerville. Let's learn about Jimmy Somerville, y'all. What's his story? Okay, Jimmy Somerville and the start of Bronski Beat, 1975 to 83, Donny Osmond, disco and documentaries, song Never Can Say Goodbye, Gloria Gaynor.
Jimmy Somerville grew up in Glasgow in the 70s.
Okay.
By the age of 10, he had a strong feeling that he might be different from the other boys at school. When not out causing havoc with his school friends, he'd be sitting in his room in the shadow of his beloved Donny Osmond poster, listening to a mix of Bowie, Connie Francis, and disco.
There's a starman waiting in the sky. Feel the need, oh feel the need in me.
Ooh.
Just gonna take me some time.
His parents didn't understand his
Disco was in full swing.
His parents didn't understand his eccentricities, but by the age of 14, Jimmy was sure he was gay. But with no one to talk to about his identity and limited information available to him, his early teenage years would be fraught. When I was 15, my mammy sent me to a psychiatrist, to a mental hospital. I tried doing myself in. I was really f***ed up. I stayed there for a week to see if they could change me. After that, I walked out. I guess that was the day that changed my life. I just decided to hell with what anyone else thinks. I'm gonna be and do what I want. My mum realized after that I wasn't mad. She's really great now. She meets my boyfriends, and she's dead proud of the band.
Wow. In one day, he was like, screw it, I'm out of here. Good for him. I just decided to hell with what anyone else thinks. Phew. I wish I could come to that, you know? That's a big moment. That must be really freeing and probably gave him a lot of confidence. I feel like I have moments of to hell whatever anyone else thinks, but overall, I'm like, oh, what's everybody gonna think? You know? Like, that's my normal mode of operation.
Like many gay men in the 1970s, Somerville found his salvation in the discotheque, nervously sneaking into one of Glasgow's rare gay-friendly underground clubs while still a teenager. The music not only called to him, but made him feel less alone.
Wow, I guess I never really thought about how disco song lyrics could be interpreted as gay. Interesting. What's the one? I was born this way. Like, that one you can. Like, it's in the lyric. He says gay.
I first went on my own, and I was completely shitting myself. I think I was so scared, I threw up on the bus on the way. I got to the club, and the first thing I ever danced to, in a grown-up club, was 15 minutes of Love Trilogy by Donna Summer. By the time it had finished, I remember thinking, this is it. This is what it's all about. And this is what I am all about.
Wow. Y'all, this guy, Jimmy Somerville, he makes decisions. He is a decisive man. I admire that. So when he first said, I first went on my own and I was completely myself, I think I was so scared I threw up on the bus on the way. I thought he was going to say that this is the first show where he performed. Or some big event, but it's just the first time going to the club. Wow. Yeah. That must have been scary at the time. I guess it was the 70s and he's going to a gay club for the first time. I'm sure, I mean, when was being gay legalized in Britain? In Scotland. 1967. So it had maybe been 10 years. And I'm sure, the law was not changed for Scotland until 1980. Oh man. Wow. Okay. That's a whole other world. So it was, I mean, I don't know exactly what year this happened, but that's why he was shitting himself. It was probably illegal. And even if it wasn't technically illegal, it was probably frowned upon, to say the least, right? Surely there are people who wait outside the club and harass them or cause trouble, right? But then he danced for about 15 minutes and he was like, this is life. Wow. Just like that. Decisive.
In 1979, for his 18th birthday, Somerville and a friend ran away to London. They had no money, but after experiencing the nightlife of the capital and how much more unashamedly themselves they could be, returning to Glasgow wasn't an option. Somerville would live in squats and among various short-lived jobs, would on occasion rent himself for extra cash. Going out clubbing every night, his attempt to become an apprentice baker ended prematurely when he was caught sleeping in the ovens in a post-party come-down. Eventually, Somerville would move in with a like-minded couple, BT engineer Larry Steinbeck and keyboardist Steve Forrest.
Wait, okay. Did he say he would rent himself out? Does he mean prostitution? Oh, rent is in quotations. He needed that extra cash, y'all. Oh, he tried to become an apprentice baker, but that didn't work out because he was going out clubbing every night. He was caught sleeping in the ovens in a post-party come-down. Oh, he was an apprentice baker, but he was sleeping in the ovens. So he didn't go... Man. Okay. So Jimmy and his friends go to London, and they're in the gay scene in London, having the time of their lives. They're like, we're not going back to Glasgow. There's no way. We're staying here. His friends are like, we don't have any place to live. Jimmy's like, we're staying. This is it. This is it. I'm going to be an apprentice baker. So he gets an apprenticeship being a baker. But he's going out clubbing every night. One night he goes to the club. He doesn't have any place to live. He's squatting. So he's like, the bakery's right down the street. I'm just going to go sleep in an oven where it's warm. And that got him fired. Wow. Better become a rock star.
Through this cohabitation, Somerville would contribute to the 1982 documentary, Framed Youth, The Revenge of the Teenage Perverts, tackling the British general public's attitudes towards homosexuality.
What the word lesbian means?
No.
You don't? Do you know what the word homosexual means?
No, I don't think so either.
Do you know what the word heterosexual means?
Yes, it's in between the two, I guess, somewhere.
Is it?
Working on the project made Somerville aware of his
Wow.
latent socialist leanings. It was the first time that I'd really been aware of any political structure to our lives. I knew that I was working class, and that there was a barrier between the rich and the poor, but I was never really interested in that aspect of life until the Framed Youth period. There was a lot of confrontational stuff in the film, and it was refreshing to be doing that, confronting things head on, in such a positive way. It was another coming out period, really. I suppose I began to get a lot more cynical.
Okay, wow. So he's in London. He's from Glasgow. In London, I bet things are a little more political. His eyes are being opened to new ways of thinking. All parts of him are being opened in new ways. And it was refreshing.
On such a low-budget production and unable to license music for the film, Somerville sang a poem he had written to a spare drum machine beat for the soundtrack.
Oh.
My freedom, my prison cell, my tempting to destroy, my fantasies, my lost control, my confusion, disillusion.
The resulting
That vibrato. At first when I heard him, I thought, this is kind of funny, but then he did it with such conviction that I'm on board. And then that vibrato at the end, that little, who's that guy? James Blunt?
My confusion, disillusion.
the resulting
I can't do that.
song, Screaming, would be the first time he'd sung for other people. His only previous experience being belting along to Donna Summer and Sylvester records in his room. His flatmates, upon hearing this, decided to expand on the song, giving it a rudimentary synth-pop makeover for fun.
My fantasies, my lost control, my confusion, disillusion.
From this, in July 1983,
Oh.
Bronski Beat was born. They took their name from the true father of the perma-drumming Eternal Boy protagonist, with the glass-smashing
I've seen that.
screech of 1979 German film, The Tin Drum. With Forrest also claiming the surname for himself. Their first live appearance was at the Gay and Lesbian Arts Festival, September in the Pink in 1983, quickly gaining the band gigs and favour within London's homosexual community. Labels were also making their interest felt, including Trevor Horn and Paul Morley's ZTT, fresh from having buffed Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Relax to a nation-shocking disco metal sheen. And ZTT had similar designs to mould Bronski Beat's sound and image. It was just before the famous marketing campaign with the Relax t-shirts that made Frankie famous. Morley's idea was to have us wear and market t-shirts that basically said that we were gay, because they'd have words like queer or puff printed on them.
Okay.
I have to admit that they were great designs, but I wasn't really interested in some kind of controversy, or being reduced to the fact that I'm a gay male. I had to make the decision between remaining free or being produced by Trevor Horn, and I picked freedom.
Oh. Oh. I need to back up and get the details here. Okay. Yeah, Trevor Horn was a very successful producer. I know he did he did a bunch of people. But he also was in the Buggles. The Buggles? Video Killed the Radio Star. That's him with the glasses singing in it. So they started playing, and people loved it. The big labels came a-calling. The people who did Relax came a-calling. And they wanted to make t-shirts, kind of like the Relax thing. They wanted to market them, and, well, I guess they did want to use the homosexual thing as part of the marketing to create a controversy. But he didn't want that. He had to make the decision between remaining free or being produced by Trevor Horn, and he picked freedom. Y'all, Jimmy's a decisive guy. I admire that.
Instead, after a mere 9 live gigs, Bronski Beat signed with London Records and teamed up with Mike Vaughan of Soft Cell's non-stop erotic cabaret fame to produce their debut single.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Okay. He gets to keep some artistic integrity, but he still has a great person on his team. Creating Smalltown Boy, 1984. Village People, Pretty Vacant, and Top of the Pops. Song Smalltown Boy, Bronski Beat.
Back when Somerville was still trying to work out his place in the world, he purchased the Village People's debut 1977 self-titled mini-album. A year before YMCA, it consisted of 4 tracks seemingly designed to guide the young gay men of the US to the places they could go for acceptance.
Really?
Years later, I realized that the album was a map of gay America. There was a song about San Francisco. The Village People were from Greenwich Village.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And another song was named after Fire Island, which was a resort where people went to party at weekends. This journey to find acceptance is shown in Bronski Beat's debut single, Smalltown Boy. It's the tale of a provincial lad who's had enough of his...
That's him singing?
It's the tale...
Wow. I'm interested in his style because he looks like a typical British teen boy, doesn't he? I mean, I guess that was the style at the time in the 80s. That was kind of the look. But I could see how a lot of young British dudes could identify with him because he's just dressed like that. Right?
It's the tale of a provincial lad who's had enough of his provincial life, sick of having to make himself smaller to fit in with those around him. But lyrically, that tale is told in glimpses, subtle nods to his life before. And his motives for wanting to venture off into the great wide somewhere. In the process of leaving,
Wow.
the weather mirrors the unsettled emotions he has to keep hidden. What hits hardest is the chorus, a repeated stream of consciousness wailed in Somerville's powerful countertenor. As he remains outwardly brave, alone on that platform, urging himself forward towards something better. The song has clear, real-world inspiration when Somerville had to leave his small-minded town 5 years earlier, and the neutered life he would have to lead if he were to stay. I wanted a lot more out of life than working in a paint factory, and having to accept that being gay was a nighttime occupation only. During the day, you didn't exist. I don't know, I just had had enough of the abuse and the heartache. I wanted more out of life, and I knew there was definitely more to get.
Yo, this first single of theirs is his... It's kind of like his opus. It's his life story. He's so decisive, he's putting it out there. I just had enough of the abuse and the heartache. I wanted more out of life, and I knew there was definitely more to get. Wow.
Lyrically, there are parallels with the Beatles' She's Leaving Home. Of course, Paul McCartney dwells on the parents who can't possibly understand.
Daddy, our baby's gone.
whereas Smalltown Boy is about the personal journey of the one who is leaving. Musically though, Bronski Beat's Runaway Ballad was mostly inspired by the current vogue in the gay London clubs the band were frequenting, specifically German EBM duo DAF and the modern disco offshoot High Energy.
Wait, Divine had a song? I thought Divine was just this character that was in John Waters movies. Here's Glenn Milstead. Closely associated with independent filmmaker John Waters, Divine was a character actor usually performing female roles in cinematic and theatrical productions and adopted a female drag persona for his music career. Oh. Divine eventually replaced his agent with his friend, an English guy named Bernard J. J suggested that with his love of clubs, Divine should obtain work performing in them. As a result, Divine first appeared in 1979 at a gay club in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where his unscripted act included shouting "F you" repeatedly at the audience and then getting into a fight with another drag queen. A gimmick that provided popular with the club's clientele. Okay. Hey, Fort Lauderdale's a place to party, y'all. But I guess he took that act over to England, and Jimmy saw it. Wow.
And also, surprisingly, a soupçon of punk. Well, we started out trying to do a cover of Pretty Vacant. We'd put a simple octaving sequence into an MC 202, but then slowed it down a bit.
Oh, wow.
The melody began to change slightly, and it turned into Smalltown Boy. All our cover versions come out like that. The fact that for Pretty Vacant's riff, the Pistols' Glenn Matlock had been inspired by the heartbreak pop of ABBA's SOS kinda brings things full circle.
Wow.
Can't you hear me, SOS?
Bronski Beat ignoring the nihilism of the Sex Pistols for something more akin to the tear-stained honesty of ABBA.
What happened to our love? It used to be so good.
Smalltown Boy's accompanying music video furthers the song's impact. Directed by Bernard Rose, who'd previously directed the S&M themed extravaganza Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Relax, took a different tact for Smalltown Boy, preferring stark realism. An unrequited romance at a swimming pool that ends in off-screen violence. The shot of the father averting his eyes, sending his battered son on his way with a £10 note, but neither a handshake nor a hug hits the rawest nerve.
Whoa.
Many young gay men saw themselves and their experiences in this music video.
Yeah.
Somerville himself was lucky. In reality, his parents were uncommonly accepting for the time. For others, being outed would mean being shunned, exiled, or worse. So talking about it carried a stigma. Steve Bronski's parents wouldn't acknowledge his sexuality, while Steinbeck's were completely unaware before they started reading about it in interviews. Released in late May 1984, Smalltown Boy entered the UK charts at number 35, aided by its evocative video and a couple of appearances on Top the Pops. The song would end up peaking at number 3.
Wow.
Bronski Beat would be the first group to appear on the show where every member was openly gay. But more than that, unlike the androgynous drag of culture clubs Boy George and the leather chic of Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Bronski Beat weren't assuming the flamboyant caricature image of homosexuality in the media. There was no costume. Somerville in his windbreaker, jeans and Doc Martens. And in this, they were all the more subversive in their normality. No matter what some people might have wanted you to believe, they really weren't that different. Behind the scenes though, Bronski Beat were unnerving the conservative values of the BBC. Somerville showed up to rehearsals in a t-shirt portraying two cowboys exposing themselves, only to later change for broadcast into something a bit more family friendly. There was also the matter of the basement toilets at Shepherd's Bush Studios. I remember Larry coming up and saying there were glory holes in the toilet cubicles. So we'd always go down and check out the guys in there, look at their shoes under the partition, and spend the whole day matching shoes to faces. At the BBC. It was brilliant.
Wow.
I went back a couple of years later and the toilets had been shut down. There was a sign up about fragrant misuse of them. It was just another part of the Bronski Beat legacy.
Holy crap. So this is in the bathrooms of the studio where Top of the Pops was made. Wow. At the BBC. And they'd spend the whole day matching shoes to faces.
On the show,
hilarious.
other performers weren't safe from Somerville's confrontational persona. Instantly seeing...
I like that they commented on his clothing style, because he's like a regular dude, and that does set him apart from the really flamboyant stuff like Culture Club and the Right Round Baby Right Round people, right? That sort of became their style. I mean, with that video too, it's raw, gritty, real. I like what they're going for.
Misuse of them. It was just another part of the Bronski Beat legacy. On the show, other performers weren't safe from Somerville's confrontational persona, instantly seeing through George Michael's closeted public image, and ripping others to shreds for perceived slights. In Somerville's eyes, Spandau Ballet were boringly straight, and Frankie Goes to Hollywood's only purpose was to be outrageous, but failed to further positive gay representation in pop music. Whenever we did Top of the Pops, I often wondered why my dressing room was halfway across the building. It was because I was made to stay away from everyone else, because I had such a big mouth. Boy George is such a big guy. And when we finally got to talk and be sort of friendly, he said to me, "I was so terrified of you. You had the biggest fucking mouth."
Wow. Yeah, Jimmy's a decisive guy. He calls it like he sees it. I admire that. That tracks with his personality that we've seen so far. I admire this guy. Something else that was mentioned in this last bit is how different from the video, his own parents actually supported him. They were really accepting and loving. And I bet having parents like that probably gave him confidence and made him be so decisive. Everything's clearer to him. He just knows. I love that he was calling out all the closeted gays too. I mean, that's kind of not cool, you know? It should be when that person's ready, but he's calling it like he sees it. That's why George Michael was scared of him. That's hilarious.
You had the biggest fucking mouth.
Awesome. Oh, why? In the Age of Consent, 1984, Homophobia, British Law, and Donna Summer. Song, No More War, Bronski Beat. Okay.
There was a chance that the pop-consuming public of the time could have ignored the implied undertones of Smalltown Boy, instead accepting it as any other hetero song about the universal theme of escape, a modernized California dreamin', or a British born to run. However, Bronski Beat's second single and second UK top 10, Why, was undeniably gay. The opening line of its verse not only sneers about the homophobia that Somerville and his band would face daily, but also defiantly stated the gender of the person he was kissing, a rarity in a year where Boy George, George Michael, Mark Armand and Freddie Mercury were hiding behind neutral pronouns. The song was inspired by an event that epitomized the violence that gay individuals were having to endure in Britain at the time. A friend who lived on this estate was having this relationship with this boy, and it was discovered. The boy's father and uncle came round to actually kill our friend, and they even went to where he worked. So he had to leave the country and go to Amsterdam.
Wow. Good question.
Even in the comparative gay promised land of London, assault and abuse was still an ever-present danger. Furthermore, Wye was dedicated to the memory of gay playwright Drew Griffiths, who had been murdered 3 months before, stabbed through the heart 18 times. No one was ever charged.
Wow.
Additionally, British law was rigged against gay men. While sex between homosexual men had been decriminalised in England in 1967, in Scotland, where Somerville and Bronski had grown up, it remained illegal until 1980. However, due to an interesting quirk of British law, lesbianism has never been illegal. An apocryphal explanation being that when Queen Victoria outlawed homosexuality in the late 19th century, she didn't believe that sex between women could possibly happen. But even in 1984, gay British men still didn't have the same sexual rights as their heterosexual counterparts, explained Steve Erickson of Gay City News. At the time, heterosexuals could legally have sex in the UK at 16, but gay men could not do so until 21. Thus, we were legally considered paedophiles and could be prosecuted for consensual sexual behaviour that was perfectly acceptable for straight teenagers and young men. The title of Bronski Beat's first album commented on this state of affairs. Name the age of consent. The liner notes printed a compare-and-contrast list of European countries' minimum age for lawful, consensual homosexual relationships.
Whoa.
The supposedly liberal England, Wales and Scotland tied for highest with Bulgaria. The intent was clear. This needed to change. As a much-needed lifeline to those that have found their true self through Bronski Beat's music, the liner notes also featured the number of a gay legal advice line, which was swamped with calls in the aftermath. Continuing to work with Mike Thorne, the album concludes with a cover of Donna Summer's I Feel Love. Augmented with the ghostly hook from Johnny Layton's 1961 classic, Johnny Remember Me. Since its release in 1977, I Feel Love had become a gay anthem, with the cover an attempt by Somerville to reclaim it for his community, especially after Summer had become a born-again Christian in 1983, at the same time turning her back on and lashing out at those that had made her an icon. The Age of Consent would touch on a variety of subjects, including the anti-capitalist lament of love and money.
Hang on, I need to pause this. Okay, I feel, this song, Why? I want to read the lyrics. Contempt in your eyes as I turn to kiss his lips. Broken, I lie. All my feelings denied. Blood on your fist. Can you tell me why? You and your false securities tear up my life, condemning me. Name me an illness. Call me a sin. Never feel guilty. Never give in. Tell me why. You and me together, fighting for our love. Can you tell me why? Wow. Yeah, this goes along with Jimmy's personality. You know, confrontation. He's decisive. He's saying, hey, this is messed up. Why is it like this? Queen Victoria thought sex between women could never happen. I guess she was just not very creative in her way of thinking around sexual contact. And this is a bold move, putting all this legal age stuff on the back of the album. Wow. Hungary, legal at 10. Okay. Hungary. I hope that's changed. United Kingdom, legal at 21. And then they did a cover of I Feel Love after Donna Summer became a born-again Christian and denounced her whole fan base of the gay community. They took the song back. I like that. Okay, moving on. There's the next song.
That had made her an icon. The Age of Consent would touch on a variety of subjects, including the anti-capitalist lament of love and money. The rant against mindless consumer culture of junk.
Processed zombies pushing junk food, junk clothes, dressed in junk from head to toe.
And the plea for peace of No More War.
No more war.
That voice.
Only 4 songs overtly mention the band's sexuality, but for some reviewers, including NME's Bieber Koff, 4 songs seemed like too much. Nobody gives a toss what they get up to in the dark, and that's what troubles them. Somerville countered, for him to turn around, a straight man, and tell us to keep our mouths shut, when we're the only band who have 3 men who are openly gay, and who actually sing about homosexual love, and for him to say he's sick of hearing it. We don't say that when we have to put up every single day with heterosexual love songs, heterosexual images constantly hitting us in the face.
Yeah, if that guy didn't care, why'd he even say anything in the first place? Jimmy's coming at you. He's gonna show you what he thinks.
Released in October 1984, The Age of Consent peaked at number 4 on the UK charts, and would eventually go platinum in both the UK and Canada. But all was not well within Bronski Beat.
Oh no. Oh, they split. Okay. The Split, the Communards, and Enduring the Influence. 1985, Hit the Perfect Beat. Red Wedge and Coming Out. Song for a Friend, the Communards. Communards.
The original lineup of Bronski Beat didn't last long. Formed in July 1983, within 24 months Somerville had left. Their respective motives for the group misaligned. Bronski and Steinbeck were more than happy to be merely pop stars, collecting hit singles and adopting a higher standard of living. The group would continue without Somerville to some success with new singer John Foster, including another number 3 single, Hit That Perfect Beat, in January 1986.
Wait, Jimmy left? Oh, so the 2 keyboard guys, the music guys, they're like, we just want to make pop hits. But Jimmy probably had some moral issues. He wanted to sing about politics and gay love. The other guys were like, let's just make some money. They got a new singer. Okay, this is crazy.
Singles and adopting a higher standard of living. The group would continue without Somerville to some success with new singer John Foster, including another number 3 single, Hit That Perfect Beat, in January 1986.
Okay.
Somerville didn't like the pop star lifestyle, and how he'd become one of the most recognisable faces in Britain. This led to a particularly surreal encounter when he was arrested for public indecency in February 1985. I mean, I actually laughed when I got caught, because at the police station they were outrageous. This pig was saying, "Oh, my daughter thinks you're wonderful." He's just caught me for sucking somebody's dick in the park, and he's telling me that his daughter thinks I'm wonderful. I was gonna send him a gold disc, but I decided against it. Somerville also...
Wow. Okay. So the music guys, yeah, they just wanted to make hits. And they got a number 3 hit. That sounds totally different than their other stuff. Totally different voice, so totally different singing. But Jimmy was like the face of it. And he got uncomfortable with being famous. He's probably the target of a lot of hate, too. He became a figurehead for the gay community, right? And then he got busted for S&D in the park. Jimmy?
Somerville also wanted his band to stand for something, urging them to play benefits and rallies that his bandmates had little interest in. In December 1984, Bronski Beat headlined Pits and Perverts, a fundraising concert organised by Lesbians and Gays Support the Minors, ultimately raising £5,650 for the cause. As odd a combination as it seems, both factions were railing against Margaret Thatcher, and together were stronger. As the Communards, his post-Bronski Beat duo with the classically trained Richard Coles, Somerville would continue to put his voice behind these political causes. Most prominently, Red Wedge, a tour of left-leaning British musicians like Paul Weller's Style Council, Tom Robinson and Billy Bragg, attempting to get young people voting, preferably for Labour. A couple of the Communards' biggest hits were rephrased disco classics within a synth-pop high-energy mode. Their versions of Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes' Don't Leave Me This Way, made famous by Thelma Houston.
Oh yeah.
And Gloria Gaynor's take on the Jackson 5's Never Can Say Goodbye.
He's nailing those vocals.
Being the only singles to hit the UK top 5. For a Friend from 1988's Red was written in tribute to Mark Ashton. Head organizer.
Wow. I hear his voice is stronger here. It's like more direct and switches between the notes easier. He's getting stronger. Wow.
Head organizer for Lesbians and Gays Support the Miners, and best friend of Somerville.
As I watch the sun go down, watching the world fade away.
He was the first friend of Somerville to have died from AIDS, an ominous deadly spectre that by this point loomed in the gay community. The fact that so many British pop stars were closeted and not talking about this ravaging pandemic frustrated Somerville, especially in the face of Section 28. In 1988, Thatcher introduced law that prohibited promotion of homosexuality by local authorities, effectively ending LGBTQ+ education in British schools until 2003. I knew so many people who were being so successful and just putting their career first and not saying much. During the emergence of what was happening with AIDS, no one was saying anything. Then here was us trying to get as much information as we could, and trying to put it out there and talk about it. I felt kinda alone and on my own.
For someone so outspoken, that must have been really frustrating. People are dying, and no one was talking about it. And Jimmy, with his big mouth, had to talk about it. He's like, why are y'all talking about this? Good for him. Wow, he was brave, y'all. Really brave. Red Wedge. I love that name, and I love the logo. I don't know exactly what it means, but I have a feeling I know what it means. I just want to look up. What does Red Wedge mean? Billy Bragg and Paul Weller were also in the Communards? I've heard of Paul Weller. I'm not finding anything, but I know that the symbol for lesbian is an upside down triangle, pink triangle, but this is red, and it's wedging between two squares. I think this works on many levels. You know? Look.
Mark Armand came out in 1987. Pet Shop Boys' Neil Tennant in 1994. George Michael was forced out after he was arrested by the LA police in 1997. It took until 1992 for Elton John to reveal himself as gay, and not bisexual as he had in 1976. Freddie Mercury never talked publicly about his sexuality before his death in 1991. Somerville had not only been out since the start, he was bravely discussing the important issues, letting young gay men know that they are not alone, just like how listening to the Village People and Sylvester had served the same purpose for him. The age of consent for gay men in England, Scotland and Wales was finally made 16 in 2001. The road to better is never short nor easy. And though there was and still is a long way to go, modern out queer pop stars owe a lot to the groundwork of Bronski Beat.
Yeah.
I'm not here to make friends. No, I'm not here. Baby, it doesn't matter. Wanna give you my heart to breathe. You will be my girl, my girl, my girl, my girl. Far on from nothing, dog. Get your soul. Just tell him ain't laying low.
That's just the way you make me feel. That's just the way you make me feel. That's just the way you make me feel.
When I sashay. Or do you not think so far ahead? Blessed be the mist.
Oh, he's great.
Of love.
Kelly Okereke of Block Party even covered Smalltown Boy.
Run away, turn away, run away, turn away.
As has Orville Peck.
Run away, turn away, run away, turn away, run away.
However, the staying power of the song goes beyond its status as a gay anthem, because it helped erase those invisible boundaries and the implied otherness that separates us. As producer Mike Thorne stated in the liner notes of the 2018 reissue of The Age of Consent, Smalltown Boy was a huge hit, quite simply, because it spoke to everybody, whatever their sexual preference or gender. You could read it as gay if you felt it, but the impact was much broader and certainly not specific. We've all been alone on the platform at some time in our lives. These lyrics weren't pretending to be part of conventional pop, nor wailing on about social injustice. Quite simply, they were human.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. So what is your favourite LGBTQ plus pop song from the 80s or
Oh, I
beyond?
don't know.
Comment down below. If
I
you like
guess-
this video,
Smalltown Boy?
like, subscribe, and why don't you also do me a favour and share it with a couple of people. It really does help.
Y'all be sure to go to Trash Theory and like and subscribe. I really admire Jimmy Somerville. What a trailblazer. I wouldn't want to be his enemy. What's he up to now? Jimmy Somerville. There's the matey. British singer from Glasgow. Yeah. Wow, Bronski Beat was only around for 2 years, really. Looks like he's still making albums. In February 2021, Somerville teamed up with producer Sally Herbert to record a cover of Everything Must Change by Bernard as a charity record for end youth homelessness. He's still working on the issues, y'all. A homeless charity. Good for him. There he is in 2006. He looks healthy. I think he's doing well, y'all. Jimmy, if you're watching, I wish you the best. And I want you to know we're all proud of you. Way to go. Let's see what they got going on the old Apple Music. How are they represented on here? Okay, that's their essential album. The one, yep, Age of Consent. There's a 40-year deluxe anniversary version. 10 songs. It's the 40-year deluxe anniversary version. Oh, a few more songs. Oh, a lot more songs. 2 discs. Just hear this. Wow. Y'all, that song Why is the first song. And the very beginning is just his voice going, tell me why. I can't even get that high. Great way to start an album. Powerful. Wow. I admire Jimmy Somerville. He knows who he is. He has strong morals. Y'all, let's raise Let's raise a grass to Jimmy Somerville. Let's raise a mug to Jimmy Somerville. Way to go, Jimmy. Keep up the great work. Hope you're doing well. Well, y'all, I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see you next time. Later.